What's up, America? Neil here with Geauga Firearms Academy. Thanks for watching. We're going to talk about some common flashlight positions that we can use while using our pistol. So if you don't have a weapon-mounted light on there, you haven't had training with it, or you, for whatever reason, have a light in your hand and you want to be able to use it, it doesn't really matter what the reason is. The bottom line is I'm going to show you some effective ways to do that. By the way, if you are interested, one of the most underestimated things on the face of the earth is how much effort people put into videos to troll you and not even watch the video. Case in point, I put a video out recently. We'll put a link down below. You should definitely check it out. It's my most trolled video in a long time. It was great fun, and it was entitled, Why You Should Not Have a Weapon-Mounted Light. And of course, my point on that whole video was that you should not just buy one just because you've seen people have one. You should buy one when you're going to have training so that you can use it. It would probably make more sense to actually have a piece of equipment that you spent 300 bucks on or 200 bucks on that you know how to use, rather than just having it to look cool. So that was my point. People blew up. It is super funny. The greatest revenge of all time, as I always like to say. Thanks for watching. So when they spend hours, it's amazing how much effort they put in actually writing this negative stuff. And then I just write, thanks for watching. It's hilarious. All right, on to the show, folks. So this one has a weapon mounted light on it. Nobody cares. That's not the point of this. If you don't have a weapon mounted light, or weapon mounted light doesn't work, or you want to use some handheld light for whatever reason, let's get into that. So I made a short recently about what not to do, because I've seen officers, actually police officers, do this, and again, other people. Point is, it's a lack of training, and so they'll hold the gun up, they'll take their light, and they'll put their light over here. I've seen it happen so many times. And of course, many of you are laughing because you know that if that gun was actually used, the slide's going to come back and hit your hand, and it's going to be a mess. Plus, it's going to be a malfunction, all that other stuff. So here's a couple things that we can do. There's a couple different common ones. So I'm not going to go through technical names because it doesn't really matter, but taking the backside of our fists and putting them together, okay, and then wherever the gun goes, the light goes, you have access to your light. And again, I'm talking only about tactical lights, meaning that they have a tail cap switch, not a clicky-clicky or a flip or turn or any of that. Press the back, and that's the only light we need in a tactical situation like that. So wherever I go here. And the idea here is that we're putting pressure on both sides of the back sides of our hands, and that pressure between the two, it's not obviously making it a two-handed hold, but it gives you a little bit more stability than just holding the gun out with just one hand. So again, back of the fist together like this. So it looks like this. Another one that people like to use, very similar, they're kind of going palm to palm, so to speak. So they're taking their palm, bringing it together on the gun like this, so the opposite of this side. And they bring the gun together like this so they can access the light. And again, they're just kind of pressing their palms together on the grip of the pistol. Okay, that's another one. Looks like this. This is the quote-unquote FBI one, which I'm not going to get into. It's just ridiculous, where people hold the lights out. So I guess let's just talk about this real quick, because I know there's going to be comments, which I can't wait for, and people are going to say things like, they're going to shoot at your light. Okay, so let's take some common logic here, which I know is difficult a lot of times. If you see my light that's either mounted on my gun or in my hand next to my gun, that means I've already got a gun pointing at you and I have a light on you. Hello? Ridiculous. So yeah, if they see me with my gun light on, whether it's a weapon mounted light or my hands, it doesn't really matter. I already have a gun pointing at you. That's kind of the whole point. So we're going to move to my favorite one. And this one is going to be kind of light specific. So I'm going to show you these two up close. I just happen to have this smaller utility light in my pocket, but it's going to make this very clear. These are both Stream lights. They're my favorite light company. No, I don't get paid for them. But you can see that the tail cap switch is kind of protected, so to speak, with this kind of crowned rear part here. And the idea is that when I press down on the light on something solid, it's never going to go off. On this Stream light, on contrast, you can see the button sticks up far past the back of the light. So anytime I press this, even if I were to press this down, obviously the light's going to come on. This is the light setup that I prefer in a tactical scenario for what I'm going to show you next. And I realize this is not a huge tactical light, and people are going to make comments on that. That's great, love it. It's just the one that I had in my pocket that's going to make sense for this. So this is the syringe or the cigar, or different names for it. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm holding the light in my finger, and I'm using the palm of my hand to activate the light. So when I press on it, it presses the light on. So the way this is going to work, and the advantage of this, and this is one of the reasons I like this hold, is that when I do this, I'm able to get two hands on the gun. It's not a perfect grip, clearly, but it's better than doing it this way or doing it this way. I'm actually got my fingers wrapped around my other fingers, almost like another hold, and now I have the light. Now a lot of people will say, well, the light's kind of angled down. It doesn't really matter, especially when you're using a more tactical light that's going to be a lot brighter. I mean, I think this one's at least 500 lumens. The light's going to splash on the ground or whatever. You're going to be able to see and identify, which is why we use a light, so we can PID a target. So I hold the light like this, and when I squeeze, the light will come on. You guys won't be able to see it because of the studio lights, but it allows me to have a grip on the gun that's better than nothing, and I still have the ability to take this light and move it away if I have to, or look at other things. So the syringe or the cigar method is the one I use, but you got to have the proper tail cap switch in order for that to work out. Cigar or syringe looks like this. Another one is the neck hold, where they're basically holding the light by their neck and it illuminates. Now, a couple things to know about this. One, if you don't have a dot and you have maybe fiber optic sights or something like that, in fact, the light that you're projecting is going to help illuminate that and see that. On the other hand, it's also going to give you a horrendous shadow. What I mean by that is, if I had this gun out here and I put this back and I hit this light on here, depending on how far it is and how big the room is or whatever the area is, there's going to be a huge area that's going to be shadowed by your gun, right? Because it's going to hit your arm and your gun. A lot of people don't like it. If you do have a dot, they find it distracting, washes out the dot. Also, depending on what type of dot you have, some of them can actually kick up the light if they're auto adjust, that type of thing from that scenario. It's something you definitely want to play with. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's the neck hold, so it does work. It does illuminate a lot of things. It's totally up to you. That's another option. Neck hold looks like this. Two other pro tips is, if you're carrying your gun on your strong side, make sure your light is on your support side. That way when you have your firearm up, you can get your light from your support side. You don't have to try to reach over or put your gun away or do something silly. My last tip, which may be kind of controversial depending on who you're talking to, lights can be too bright in certain settings. So for example, as I said earlier, in urban settings and small homes and stuff like that, where you have pictures and windows, refrigerators, things that are reflective and shiny, and you've got 1500 lumens and you're trying to light stuff up, that light can splash back and blind you just like you are with your threat. So, you know, it depends on your use environment. If you're always outside or always patrolling a large area or something, I get it, then it doesn't really matter. But for, I mean, I think it's kind of like, just like horsepower wars with cars now and trucks and stuff like that. The lumen wars is out and everyone's trying to get the next super bright light. And I would just caution you that, and a lot of those lights, by the way, you can adjust down, which is good. I would just caution you that always having it the highest, brightest, most light you have isn't always the best option for an indoor urban environment. All right, guys, I hope you got some good stuff out of that, some tips for you for using lights. Obviously, these are just suggestions and tips. At the end of the day, you should, and not for me, I'm sure 99.9% of everybody that watches this is nowhere near me. But find a trainer in your area that you like, that is reputable, that can teach you some light techniques and low lights and shooting in low light environments and no light environments, because again, a lot of times the things that go badly in low light and no light situations. So definitely get some training on that. You guys know where to find us here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Rumble. And of course, we put all our premium content on Patreon. Until next time, remember, it's always better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6.